Hey buddy, how you been? Haven't seen you in a minute. Hope all is well, man. Come on in. Come on into the studio. We're going to talk about a couple of things. We're going to keep it brief, but I want to share a few things that I think will help you and your grow. First off, one of my subscribers said, hey, looks like your plants need a little magnesium. I said, damn, spot on, brother, because I saw the same thing. And you know what I did? I went out to the store, which is right around the corner, a little grocery store, and I went down one of the bottom shelves, and guess what I found? Epsom salt. Have you ever used Epsom salt before? It's magnesium sulfate. You can buy a bag of this cheap. This is like $4, and I can do a lot with this. You know, it was probably 20 years ago, a gardener, he says to me, hey, if you want your tomatoes to really, be really sweet and really nice and healthy, get some magnesium sulfate, take a tablespoon per gallon of water, boom, 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 and he says, hey, just put it in your little pump sprayer. Right now there's a little bit in here, right? This little pump sprayer, you gotta have the one with the little wand on it because you wanna be able to spray. Let me just put that down over there for you guys. Anyways, so I went out and got some and I mixed up a batch and I want to show you guys. Come on over with me. So first off, when you're using Epsom salt, it's pretty simple. It's usually a tablespoon per gallon. That's the simple way. And I mixed up a batch. So yesterday I filled up the tank, 30 gallons, and I put in, I left the water there plain for overnight. I wanted to acclimate to the temperature. That's the key thing. When it comes out of the spigot, it's gonna be cold. It's probably gonna be, 60 degrees, 55, depending if you have a well or municipal water. That's town or city water. So I fill up my tank. Oh, number one is you really, if you can, if it's in your budget, is to get a filter. Now, I have a filter. Mine is at the hose end. This actually will filter up to 11,000 gallons. If you've seen that in the other videos. Oh yeah, I gotta point this out. I have to point it out in all my videos. This is a movie, my friend. Yeah, and this is scene number 20. So go back to scene number 1 and follow along, because I see the comments and I go, man, I wish you watched video number 1, then you'd find out these are not my plants. These plants found me. Yeah, cannabis has a way of finding you, and they find me. They've been finding me for years. The year was 1987. Jeff the Rockstar from Colorado says, hey, I'll show you how to grow. And I'm like, let's do this. And that's where it all started, my friend, because I really enjoyed my cannabis. I liked how it made me feel, and it made me more calm and more relaxed. When you're angry, smoke a joint, everything goes away. I'd come home from work every now and then, a long day, the boss is grinding you down, and I come home and I'd be a little bit uptight. My wife goes, you look like you need a puff. I go, yeah. She says, why don't you go take care of that and come back? And I come back all smiley and giggly face and feeling good and not upset anymore, because that's the medicine, right? That's of the smoking. But by the way, back then, it was all about having smoke and having my own supply. And it's been many, many years, and I've never, and this is not to be braggadocious. I'm not saying that, not to go in a dispensary. I've never been in one, never needed to. Have my own supply. Jeff the Rockstar gave me my start, showed me how to get started, and then from there, it was trial and error. And by the way, I hid in that proverbial cannabis closet for many years. I didn't want to tell anybody what I was doing. I just didn't want to get caught. See, I was doing it during Prohibition. In Prohibition, they'd arrest you for a damn seed or roach or anything like that. And some of you cats watching, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But filter the water before you fill up your tank. And what I did was I added the Epsom salt this morning. Actually, the first thing I did was I added some silica. So I add some silica to the water, because silica, if you remember from the other videos, the little lessons I was teaching you, doesn't mix with the other elements so well. So always put your silic acids in, or your potassium silicates in first, and that way it mixes with the water nice. Because if you add it after the fact, what's gonna happen? It's gonna fall out of solution. So add your silicas first, and what's the benefit of silica? Some of you remember. You new cats just jumping in? All right, I got you covered, bro. Silica helps to strengthen the cellular structure of the plant. It makes the cellular walls a little bit thicker, a little bit stronger. And number 1 and number 2, it helps the plant with resistance to stresses like heat stress, drought stress. And I know some of you subscribers are in different parts of the country where it's really hot and dry. I'm in the Northeast, so I'm in New England, and right now it's overcast and it's humid and it's chilly. So I got my little jacket on because it's a little chilly, because I've been used to 85 degrees for quite some time. But anyways, we're gonna go take a look at those plants in just a minute, but I wanna just finish telling you what I got in the mix here. So I added the silica, I had the water, I let it sit overnight so that it would acclimate to the temperature. Right now it's about 70 degrees, which is really nice. And then I added the Epsom salt, so a tablespoon per gallon. There's 30 gallons, 30 tablespoons. I added in there, mixed it up. And then I said, you know what? Since we're gonna be watering the plants, because I've already did the foliar spray, you saw the pump sprayer I showed you. So we're gonna water the plants. I said, you know what? I'm gonna add a little goody, a little something in there. And I'm gonna show you this next something. This little something is recharge. Now, I don't get endorsements from these cats. I should. Real growers, right? That's just from Yeah, the Real Growers, realgrowers.com. But anyways, this product here, I discovered it probably about 5 years ago now. And somebody said, oh, it's the next best thing since sliced bread. And I'm like, oh yeah, one more thing I gotta buy. And they said, you know what? We sell in these small little packets. Why don't you give it a try? And it's only $3. I'm like, all right, okay, no risk. I fed my plants, and the next day the plants went, yeah, baby, I like it. So when they do this is called praying, by the way. And then when the leaves taco a little bit, you say, something's going on. Because my plants didn't express that. I've never seen that before. I added this in. And I'll tell you exactly why. The reason is when you're soil growing, soil has life, right? So I have people say, oh, I just got to get some good dirt. Oh, wait a minute. The dirt's out on the street. Dirt's on the end of the driveway. That's not soil. Soil is alive. It has microorganisms, fungi, bacteria, mycelium, all this sort of goodies. They're workers on the job site. All right, so if we look at these plants here, these plants are all, I like to look at them as buildings, right? If you're building organic buildings, these are plants. Where did that plant come from? Well, it started with a seed, and then maybe it went into a clone, or maybe tissue culture, then into a clone. By the way, you'll be seeing some of that. I'll be talking about that soon, because I've started a course on tissue culture by the best tissue culture anywhere in the country. Oh, I feel blessed to be able in that class. So every Tuesday I'll be in that class. So last class was about 8 hours. This is this past Tuesday. But back to the subject matter, which is those plants come from the material down inside that container, right? So I have some cloth bags, I have some plastic bags, and then I have bags that were just the soil that I purchased, and I put the plant right in that bag. Some of those bags are designed so that you can grow right out of them. So, but anyways, let's get back to the workers on a job site. Have you ever been on a construction site? There's workers going everywhere. There's trucks showing up with supplies. There's someone taking it off, and there's specialty workers there. Some are doing just general labor, and some are putting up the ceilings, the electrical, the plumbing, the flooring, the drop ceilings, the refrigeration, HVAC. You feel me, right? Those are specialized workers. Imagine if you could add some specialized workers into that substrate that you got going over there, the soil. Or maybe it's cocoa coir that you're growing in, which is hydroponically grown, by the way. Now, take a look at this. You can probably see it on this. All right, we're nice and close now. If you see that list of workers, it's trying to follow me because I have it set on follow me. These workers, so first off, we got glomuses, intracetes, mosae, we got bacilluses, trichoderma, we got kelp, we've got molasses, which is a sugar source, by the way. Come on down over here. Come on, follow me over here, Mr. Camera. The camera lost control. Hold on, sorry guys. New technology, and here we go. Back in the middle of it all. All right. Anyways, back to the subject matter here. It's got humic, fulvic acids, amino acids, and molasses, which is a sugar source to feed the microbes, the workers on the job site. You use this once a week and your plants just absolutely love you. And I'm gonna show you something. So I'm gonna show you this plant here. I kept these little plants here and I kept them small purposely so I could show you guys. These particular plants, okay, here's a little fun fact for you as a lesson. Big are the roots, big are the fruits. Jimmy Strain out of Canada always says that, and I love that saying, big are the roots, big are the fruits. He's an aeroponic grower. He'll probably be on our podcast soon in the future, the Grow Room Boys. That's coming soon to a neighborhood near you, so look forward to that when I announce it. Now, the roots are very important because they're actually collecting all of the nutrition for the plant, as above, so below. So you can see this is a little plant. It started off a little bit rough in the beginning, but also the other thing about the size of the pot, it's going to compress the root system. So you can see this one stayed in this small pot and it's this big, and this has been growing all summer, and those are in bigger pots, they get much bigger. So when you look at the 30 gallons and the 10 gallons, they're big. And then of course there's the 20 gallons over there. But let's take a look at the roots. You can see this has got nice healthy roots on it, nice and white and clean. Those roots are collecting all the minerals and everything. So there's a lot of life in this little package here. So those roots are nice and white because I use a certain product or products. Now, the product that I use to help those roots stay clean are enzymes. So enzymes help to break down dead root material, helps to break down organic matter and make it available as a carbohydrate for the plant to uptake as a food source. But I'm going to show you the product that I use. Now there's other enzyme products on the market. There's Hygrozyme, there's SLF 100. Those are excellent products and I've used them for years. I started using the Hygrozyme probably around 2012, and I was like, all right, this thing works good. My plants are happy, my root zones are happy. Because one of the things I like to do at the end of a grow cycle is I like to pull the root ball out and take a look at it. That's the evidence that I was, as a grower, doing a decent job in feeding the soil and feeding the roots, because that's what we do. We feed roots, right? We're not actually feeding the plant, we're feeding the soil, the life in the soil. We're making sure the elements are available so that they can come up in through the plant through basically a transpiration. It's pulling that moisture up through the cellulose and out through the leaves and the stems and out through the stomata, which are the pores underneath the leaves, right? But this product here, I was shown this by Dr. Lynn, who's a microbiologist. Dr. Lynn owns a company called Cleantech out of Rhode Island, not Massachusetts, Rhode Island, which is in the New England states. Now, this particular product, I was saying, hey, Dr. Lynn, because she has multiple products. Oh, here's another one right here, P31 Microbes. I'll talk about that in a second. But this product here, I said, hey, how's that Hygrozyme and how's that SLF100? Which one's better? And she says, well, they're both good products and they're enzymes, and that's great, but how would you feel if you had the bacteria that actually made those enzymes? I'm like, tell me more, tell me more. And she said, well, I have a product here, it's called Super Janitor. Now, Super Janitor, let me see if I can get this to focus for you guys. There it is right there. And you can see the images on there before the product and then after. There's the after the product. And she said, this product actually makes enzymes. And I'm like, can I try it? And she gave me a sample. Now, this is a long time ago. She gave me samples. I was at one of the cannabis shows, and that's where you meet cool characters. It's really important if you have the time and your state has one, or if you want to travel. Matter of fact, this December I'm going to Vegas to that big show there. I'm going to meet a lot of cats there. It's going to be good times. But anyways, this is where I first got introduced to Dr. Lynn, and she says, hey, I have this product here. It's called P31 Microbes. And I said, yeah, okay, what about it? She goes, well, this is cultured off of the roots of a cannabis plant. So you can see right here, there you go, right there. It's a phosphate solubilizing bacteria. Phosphate is probably one of the hardest elements for the plant to actually absorb. But if you have a product down in the root zone that's breaking it down and making it available, oh yeah. This thing was a game changer for terpenes, my friend. So I use this in the flower cycle of my plants. I don't normally use it in the vegetative cycle because it's a waste, right? And I want to be conservative with this. And the cool part about this product, it only uses 0.5 milliliter per gallon. So for you regular growers, you know what I'm talking about. Sometimes you buy a product and like it takes a lot of it to be effective, and it gets costly, right? I need something to be cost effective, but super effective on my finish. And I'll gotta tell you, if you go back and look on my channel, you'll see it. You'll see the interview that I did with Ed the grower and also Dr. Lynn, because this stuff was getting amazing results. At first I was like, holy moly, I'm seeing it. And I said to my friend Ed, you gotta try it. He goes, oh man, I got a big tank of water I gotta fill up. It's gonna be expensive. And I said, you really gotta try it. So I convinced him to try it, and he was like, oh my God, game changer. My terpene percentages went way up. I mean, scientifically, we had it tested with a certified laboratory before and afters, and it was absolutely amazing. So I've mixed that up into the tank. I have my air stones in there running. It's oxygenated. I'm gonna water the plants with it. But the first thing I'm gonna do, here's a tip for you guys. Let me just get the camera over to the subject matter here. There we go. Come on, guy. Come on, follow me over here. All right, so Dr. Lynn said, hey, add all your stuff in, adjust your pH. So if you're adding silicas, Epsom salts, or you're adding some sort of brew that you're doing, she said, do that first, adjust your pH, because you're going to adjust your pH either up or down, right? Once you get it into that happy place that you like. Now, I like when I'm watering into soils and organics, I like to be between 6.2 and 6.5 is my kind of sweet spot of hitting the bullseye on the dartboard. So I adjust it, and then you add your bacteria in last, right? Because they get affected. Some of the colonies, not all of them, but some of the colonies, because there's multiple colonies in here. They're not all just one bacteria, they're multiples. She says the pH fast adjustment will affect those colonies, and some die-off will happen. So do all your adding, do your adjusting, and add your microbes at the last after everything else, which I did. So I added that in. Now pH, potential of hydrogen, 0 to 14, 7 is neutral, below is acidic, above is alkaline. We're looking for 6.0 to 7.0 is hitting the dartboard. But tighten up those numbers, 6.2 to 6.5, sweet spot for organics. All right, so I did that, and I just tested it a few minutes ago. I'm gonna give it another test because I started to double check on everything before I do the final watering. I want to see where my numbers lie. If I need to do just a little hint of adjustment, I don't. So I'm running right now at about 6.5 is acceptable for me. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just double check it with the EC, because I did add a salt in it, because magnesium sulfate is a natural mineral. It's a salt. And by the way, you can soak in that if your muscles are sore or your feet are sore. It really helps you quite a lot. Just like it helps the plants, it helps you too. Oh, by the way, from some of you old cats out there that can't poop, magnesium sulfate is a laxative. Take that stuff and you'll be pooping regular, baby. Oh yeah, you'll be dropping a biscuit, doing a doo-doo. It works amazing. So some of you know what I'm talking about. If you get constipated, that's the thing to get you back on track, my friends. So now this is an EC and or a TDS meter. TDS stands for total dissolved solids. EC stands for electrical conductivity. When you're adding minerals or salts to a water, I like to measure an EC. The EC will show you what the resistance is of the water, because there's a salt in there. There's a couple of little probes in here. See if you can see those right there. So those are little electrical probes, let a little microcurrent through it. The other one is a temperature sensor. And it measures the salt levels in the water. Now, if it's TDS, I use that if I'm doing organic mixes, so total dissolved solids, I'll measure that way. So I tested this earlier and I was getting a 2.5, which is, I'm happy with that. Great, great, great. All right, so just a quick recap. We're gonna water the plants with that. We're gonna get them up to health. Right now it's in the afternoon here in the Northeast. So I'm gonna give them a good feeding. And then what I'm also gonna do is get back to working on the automatic watering system. So let me show you guys that. All right, so you can see these are some of the components that I have. I gathered a few different components. These are connectors to bring lengths together, T's, corner pieces. This is a punch tool that punches into the tubing so I can put in my plugs to do the feeds. Then I'm going to use these watering spikes. I'm going to put a couple per, probably 2 to 4, depending on the size of the pot. And I'm going to build an open flow watering system. These are all my lines to be able to connect them. And so basically you just punch a hole and then you connect it to the connector. I'm going to try something this year with a T connector so I can have 2 feeds come off of 1 punch. They do have single feeds that will go in. So here's basically the double feed. You guys can see that right there. And or what I'm also going to do, again, back to the watering system I'm setting up a square, and I'm going to have an open flow. So that means I have no restrictors. Okay, they have little restrictors if you're doing a more measured feed, if you're running, like say Cocoa Choir, something like that. So if you're doing an automatic feed system with restrictors, they're typically a ½ gallon per hour restrictor. But in this case here, because I want to push through organics through the pipes, so if I'm doing a brew tea, anything like that, and I want to push that in as a feed source, I don't want any clogging of my drip emitters. All right, so I'm building an open flow system. The tap will go right in here, so 1 feed will come right into this line right here, and there's a T that goes up the center. I use the black hose up for the center because that's what I had available. I like the white because it's not going to get hot in the sun. It's not going to be cooking it. So if I kick it on and there's heat in there, it's not going to disperse into the bags. But all right, so I have a T here. I have another T over there, the offset. Actually, I'll probably change that T and just put a connector. But you'll see that I'll do a little video on that. And the other thing I need to do real soon is over on these plants. These are the ones from Ed Growing. Those are going to need a little bit of thinning and a little bit of skirting, or known to in the nomenclature on the street is lollipopping. I got to lollipop those a little bit, tune them up a little bit, and just double check, and probably do a little bit of thinning up of some of these branches. So, because when you get up into some of this lower growth down in here, these are just suckers. See if I can see these in here. These little things in here, I'm going to get rid of some of this growth, because what I'm looking for is the top section that's going to come up. This is where my flowers are going to be. My premium section is going to be up in there. So I'm going to get rid of some of that lower section, and I'll do a specific video just for you guys on defoliation and how to do that. But you can see the ladies are coming along nice. They're filling in. They're in, I would say some of them are 2nd week flower. Some are maybe a little 3rd weeks. And yeah, I'll do another video on this. I'm actually probably going to do a live today and show you guys more details on this. So All right, guys, I covered a few things. Hopefully you got a couple of tips out of that. Like I said, go back to the very first video and follow along. If you're just discovering this today and this is your first video, I know a lot of you guys are excited about the same subject matter I am, but you'll make comments that'll be like, man, I answered that like 5 times already for the last 5 videos. And just go back to the first video and you'll get the whole story. They're not my plants. They were friends that had problems and challenges. I just moved to this property. I've only been here about 8 weeks. So I'm getting settled in. I'm finding the sun patterns. I did above ground growing in containers. It allows me to rotate, allows me to move them if I need to, all those factors. Because I hear that comment commonly, how come you're not in the ground? How come they're not bigger? They're not my plants, guys. I didn't choose the genetics. If you're growing in a moist atmosphere like New England, you really want to be selective on your genetics for outdoor growing. I was an indoor grower for many, many years, and in indoors, I control the atmosphere, the temperatures, humidities, the timing, all of it. Outdoors, look up, baby. Yeah, nature takes care of that, Mother Nature, and I have to work with her, and she's in charge. And so sometimes you choose the wrong genetics, you get outside, and guess what? That's right, some of you guys know what I'm talking about. You get mold, powdery mildew. But there's products you can use to help you get through that, right? And you've seen me talk about it in other videos. All right, guys, got to jump, got some things to do. And as always, may those resins bless your bowl today. Peace, happy growing. Don't forget, that's right, sharing is caring.